So we're going to work on reducing wordiness. So here's my first draft. A true friend stabs you in the front was once said by English writer and humorist Oscar Wilde. The implication here is that enemies betray you on the sly, stab you in the back, while true friends are at least upfront about it. While some people might agree with Wilde and think that it's okay to betray a friend as long as one is upfront about it, I disagree wholeheartedly because the definition of true friendship lacks any betrayal at all because friendship is based on trust and honesty. So the first strategy that I'm going to use is to look for passive voice. So passive voice is when the action is done to the subject instead of the subject doing the action. It's like when the news says the homeowner was shot by the intruder. This tends to confuse things, so it's much more direct to put the subject first and say the intruder shot the homeowner. Now we know who exactly did what and to whom. So let's look at my first sentence here. A true friend stabs you in the front was once said by English writer and humorist Oscar Wilde. So that's an example of passive voice. So our subject here isn't doing the saying, it's something that was said. So we need to change that. So we're going to flip that around so that my subject is at the beginning of the sentence. So I'm going to do this. So English writer and humorist Oscar Wilde once said, a true friend stabs you in the front. And then we're going to get rid of that. Now that's written in active voice. We know who is doing the talking, and we know what was said. So the second strategy I'm going to use is to look for being verbs like is, was, were, am, etc. So these verbs lend themselves to wordiness. It doesn't mean that I need to change them all, but I should at least be aware of where they are and how they function. So we're going to highlight is because that's one of the words that we're going to work on. We are going to highlight is down here. Those are both being verbs. And then we're going to highlight are. That is a being verb as well. All right. So my task here is to change is to a present or past tense verb. So if I look at the second sentence here, that's what I want to focus on. So one strategy that I can do is try to change our shun words, T-I-O-N, into verbs. So I'm going to take out is. We're just going to delete that. And we're going to change implication to implying. So it's just another form of the same word. So if we're going to join these two sentences now, we need to take out the period, make that a comma. So now it reads, English writer and humorist Oscar Wilde once said, a true friend stabs you in the front. Implying here, I don't need here, implying that enemies betray you on the sly, stab you in the back, while true friends are at least upfront about it. Okay, so that worked. Now I need to work on are. So I think I'm going to change are at least upfront about it to betray you openly. So while true friends, let's change that. Betray you openly. All right. So that works. So implying that enemies betray you on the sly, stab you in the back, while true friends betray you openly. So now I've managed to get rid of those being verbs. And we need to work on the last is. Okay, so this one's a little bit more tricky because it's a longer sentence. So I'm going to look at that final dependent clause. So because friendship is based on trust and honesty. So that's the whole thing that I need to work on. Let's get rid of because just for my own mind. And then we're working essentially with an independent clause. So friendship is based on trust and honesty. So how else can I say this? Friendship is built on trust and honesty. But that uses is again, which I'm trying to avoid. How about friendship thrives on trust and honesty? Let's try that. Friendship thrives on trust and honesty. So I actually like that. All right, so that works. So I disagree wholeheartedly because the definition of true friendship lacks any betrayal at all because friendship thrives on trust and honesty. All right, so now let me look at my paragraph. So English writer and humorist Oscar Wilde once said, a true friend stabs you in the front, implying that enemies betray you on the side, stab you in the back, while true friends betray you openly. While some people might agree with Wilde and think that it's, I forgot a being verb. So we need to work on this because it's really means it is. So there's another is there. So we need to do something with that to get rid of it. All right, so let's go back and look at that sentence. While some people might agree with Wilde and think that it's okay to betray a friend. So I think I'm going to change that to, while some people might agree with Wilde and think that open betrayal is acceptable. So while some people might agree with Wilde and think that, we can get rid of all that. Okay, so I like that better. The problem is I've taken out one is and put in another. That's not good. Well, some people might agree with Wilde and think that open betrayal is acceptable. So instead of think, I'm going to change this to finding. So with Wilde, finding that, or finding open betrayal acceptable. I disagree wholeheartedly because the definition of true friendship lacks any betrayal at all because friendship thrives on trust and honesty. All right, so that works. So another easy strategy, and the last one I'm going to talk about today, that I can use to reduce wordiness is to eliminate unnecessary words. So I'm going to eliminate this, stab you in the back, because I think this is a common enough concept that I don't need to clarify it for my reader. And then I think I'm also going to delete the word wholeheartedly, since disagreement is really disagreement. I could use another verb like dissent or differ, but that sounds a bit silly. So I'm going to stick with disagree. All right, so let's look at this paragraph now and see if it's direct to the point and if I've accomplished my task of reducing wordiness. So English writer and humorist Oscar Wilde once said, a true friend stabs you in the front, implying that enemies betray you on the sly while true friends betray you openly. Well, some people might agree with Wilde's finding. This is why reading things out loud can be helpful because then you can catch some of these little things that you wouldn't otherwise see. So while some people might agree with Wilde's finding, I don't like this. While some people might agree with Wilde, you know what? I don't need that. I need a comma. With Wilde finding open betrayal acceptable, I disagree because the definition of true friendship lacks any betrayal at all because friendship thrives on trust and honesty. I don't think I need this at all. Or you know what? I'm going to change that. So because the definition of true friendship lacks any betrayal at all. Actually, I'm just going to leave it off. Short, direct, to the point. So look at these two paragraphs compared one to the other. One, while we may think it sounds good, it's really quite wordy. There's a lot of unnecessary words in there. The other one, direct to the point, essentially says the same thing.